Hello and welcome to another episode of Toxic Love Transformation. I'm your host, Stephanie McPhail. And today I want to go through, I got some really exciting stuff for you that I would like to share. And, there's been so many people that have said that they needed support and they weren't really sure where to start. So I wanted to make this video and really give as much information as I possibly can to give you inspiration and hope that you can change and create something new after your toxic relationship. So if this is your first time listening in, make sure you go and grab a writing utensil and a piece of paper. You're going to want to take notes, take away all your distractions. And if you can't come and watch this right now, I understand. Maybe you can come back and watch it another time. So let me jump right in really quick. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Stephanie McPhail. I specialize in toxic relationship recovery. And I used to be someone who was really good at choosing really crappy partners and then trying everything in my power to try to make it work. I don't know if that resonates to anyone who is watching right now, but I would go from one relationship to another one. I was a typical person that after high school, I started dating somebody, and then from there, I just kind of went on and on different relationships. I'm a relationship person, and that's actually one of the really great things about us that also makes us a target for toxic people is we are super loyal. We are loyal, we are hard workers, and we are good at trying to figure things out. And as much as that's wonderful in our careers, when it comes to unhealthy relationships, that can also make us an easy target for toxic types of people. And so we want to make sure that we are having healthy boundaries in order for us not to get sucked into another one of those relationships if we've had them before in the past. So bad relationships. In fact, the first one that first long-term relationship I was in that was really terrible was a live-in boyfriend. He was an electrician. I wanted to prove to everybody, my parents especially, that, it didn't matter what kind of education he had. And I always thought, no one's better than anybody else. And so I was someone getting my double master's degree in health and education. Education was always super important to me, and he was an electrician. Now, I'm not saying anything wrong against anyone in the technical field. I want to make sure that that's very clear. But his lack of ambition was a real problem. And so that's one of the things we actually look at when we talk with clients is instead of worrying about seeming like you're asking for too much or, again, you're too much. I mean, a lot of us were told we're too much, right? Instead of looking at that, we want to make sure that we have someone that we're in a relationship with that is looking for similar goals. They have similar aspirations. So for example, like my husband now, when we started dating, we both talked about wanting to be entrepreneurs and having that in our background, something that was important to me. So, having those things that we know what we want. But my first long-term relationship, he was someone who he didn't care. He would go smoke weed, he would go party with his friends, but he didn't have aspirations to do something more. And I always did. It was always something that was really important to me. And things started out good. They were fun, right? Relationships in the beginning, they should be fun. And we had a great time together. We were really good at having the partying and the fun stuff together. We were good at all that kind of stuff. But when his father got sick and ended up passing away, he couldn't handle it. He stopped coming home. He started accusing me of cheating. He definitely tumbled off the cliff. And after a really big fight of him not coming home and then him threatening and saying that I was the one cheating on him, a friend of mine called the police after he threw my phone and had put holes in the walls, tore me out of bed. I mean, it was a real dangerous mess there. A friend of mine called the police and a policeman said to me, "These are the best years of your life. You shouldn't be dealing with any of this." And I said, "You know what? You're right. I need to finally end this relationship." The problem that happened with that is that after that relationship, instead of getting the right support, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm just never going to do that again. I'm going to be better at checking out, knowing myself. I'm going to be better at knowing what I want in a partner. And I'm not going to lower my standards the way that I did last time. I'm just going to not do that again. And I don't know if that resonates for anybody who is listening, but I thought I handled it. I had a degree in psychology, I had a double master's degree. I'm not a dumb person. So I'm not going to do that again. So I was single for a short period of time, not long enough. And I started dating this guy that was a mutual friend. And I was warned, be careful of him. He's got some issues. But we started dating and it was hot and heavy and things seemed really good. And he was telling me all the right things and also basically said to me, "Hey, I know you haven't been in the healthiest of relationships. don't worry, I will help you out, which again should be a little bit of a warning sign. I was thinking I was safe and that he was going to help support me, that he was a good guy, and really he was using the fact that I had not healed against me. He was manipulating me. So he very, very quickly wanted to get married. He wanted to jump into a very serious relationship. I wasn't ready, but I didn't have my voice to say no. I was worried that I was getting older and that maybe my standards were too high and that I just needed to if I wanted to settle down and have a family, I had to just deal with this guy, because on paper, he seemed to be like a good fit for me. But, there was already some red flags, and I was really ignoring them because I was getting older and I wanted to settle down and have a family, and my friends were getting married and all that kind of stuff. We ended up getting married. On our wedding night, he actually strangled me until I thought I was going to die. Now, you'd think that would be enough for me to leave, but I had just gotten married to this man. I had family from all over that had come to visit me at this beautiful location, Ohega Castle in Long Island, New York, which is where famous people get married. I thought I was so lucky to get married in this place. It was his choice of location. I wanted to get married on the beach. But he wanted this beautiful, elaborate thing, which is kind of one of those typical signs of narcissists, of wanting to control, wanting to put on fronts and show off for people. I was a little bit more laid back with that kind of stuff. But that's what he wanted. And again, he tried to kill me on our wedding night. And then he promised that he would never do it again. He apologized and said he would never get that way again. And of course, since I just married him, I wanted to believe him. He promised me if he did, I could leave and he wouldn't give me a problem. Well, for the next 5 years, he became more physically abusive. I was spit on, I was pushed, holes were put in the walls and the floor. He strangled me again. He threatened my life. I mean, it was just thing after thing. And sometimes almost the worst part was when he would not talk to me. And so I remember just sitting on the couch and feeling so alone, even though he'd be sitting right next to me, and feeling like, oh my gosh, I can't talk to this person about anything. And so he would tell me in public under his breath that I was too much, that nobody wanted to hear what I had to say, and that I had too many opinions about things and I shouldn't share them, and people didn't actually like me. And when you're in that kind of place where the person that is supposed to be your number one supporter is the number one person making you feel bad and putting you down, it's hard to differentiate. It's hard to see this is just their toxic behavior as opposed to, wow, there's something inherently wrong with me, especially since I had not experienced a healthy relationship to begin with. And again, I don't know if this resonates for anyone who's listening, but that is kind of one of those things, is that they know how to hit those buttons of whatever those insecurities or those areas that we haven't worked on. They know how to manipulate us. They know exactly what to say and do to get us to do what they want. And again, they love smart, independent, attractive, successful women because we look good for them. We make them look good. But the weird thing is, and this can go both ways, guys, girls, doesn't matter. But it can go, this is the problem, is that instead of realizing, hey, this person that I am in a relationship with is doing great, maybe I should level myself up, because their ego is so easily hurt, we'll say, that instead of trying to level themselves up, it's easier for them to try to bring us down. So they take this wonderful, strong, independent person, and then they do everything in their power to try to break them down and get them to their levels, so again, they can have that power and control. So I ended up deciding to get a divorce. It was not easy. I had a lot of problems trying to decide whether or not I should get a divorce, because I was brought up in a religious family, and I learned that once you get married, you stay married. And so in sickness and in health, you got to stand by them. And I had so much guilt still from leaving the ex after his father had passed away, that I was like, maybe I need to stick around. I promised that I would be married to him, and I need to figure it out. Luckily, I finally made the right choice for myself. I did leave. He proceeded to call guys I was dating and tell them that I had an STD, or try to scare them off in some way. I mean, he was definitely giving me problems to date as after I ended that relationship. And part of me thought I would just never be able to be in a relationship ever again, but at least I was out. And that was a part that was really, really hard to get to, was the leaving part. And one of the reasons why is because as professionals that are so good at researching, figuring out solutions, we get into this research mode. So we get into the research, we try to figure out what's wrong with the relationship, what can we do to fix it? We get stuck there, but then we get stuck in the addiction part. The addiction of what can I do to change? What can I do to fix? And I was stuck there for a really, really, really long time. And that's where a lot of times when people come to us, they're looking for help. And literally we call them the withdrawals of ending that toxic relationship. And so that took me a little while to get through. Once I got out and he was keeping me from dating and whatever else, I was like, you know what? I'm going to take this time to really focus on myself and make sure that I heal. I ended up having all these horrible things go wrong. And one of the things that happened, I ended up in this room with a sprained ankle. And the school I was at, because I was a teacher at the time, called my ex-husband because he was still on my emergency call list. So that's a warning if anybody's still in a toxic relationship. If you get a divorce, make sure you take that ex off of your emergency person. But he showed up at the hospital and the doctor came in. And around the same time, the doctor came and said, you have a really severely sprained ankle. You're not going to be able to do much of anything. And I literally heard this voice that said to me, you need to be your own knight in shining armor. You need to figure out what you need to do to heal because what you've been doing hasn't been working. And I realized that meant stop trying to do it on my own. And what I did is I made it my mission to do whatever it took to heal. And that's the part that I am so passionate about. That is the part that has now been my mission for the past 10 plus years. We got a divorce 12 years ago. So for the past 10 years, I've been helping people heal from toxic relationships because I understand all too well how easy it is to get sucked into trying to figure out their issues and trying to blame, and we blame ourselves because we're also people pleasers. And like I said, we're loyal, we're smart, we're independent, we're all these things. But when we've ended this relationship, we feel like a shell of our person, and we feel so lost. And I realized I needed to help other people to heal because we're not alone. We think that we're the only ones going through it, but the reality is, once I started to share my story, I started to realize how common it was. So now I am now remarried to my best friend, and we actually help people heal from toxic relationships together. And we come from a very holistic perspective, which I think is really, really important when it comes to healing. When you go to see a therapist, you look at the mental health part. That's one part, which is beautiful, and it's an important piece of healing. But when you're looking for long-term healing, we want to make sure that we are looking at all the different areas of healing, which is our physical health, our social emotional health, our mental health, and our spiritual health. And that doesn't mean spiritual, I'm going to send you to church every week or every day. That's up to you how you decide to play that through. But that connection to something more than self. I call it the universe, I call it the higher power, call it God, whatever it is that works for you. But being able to reconnect to all four areas of our health allows us to get back into alignment and back into everything working with equality. Because when we are in these toxic relationships, we lose ourselves, and we tend to also lose our friends, and our health starts to decline. I mean, everything is just disconnected, and we need to get everything back into balance. So again, I have a double master's degree in health and education. I have a bachelor's degree in psychology. I've now written 2 books, Being Loved Shouldn't Hurt, which is the title above my head. I also have I have a top 2.5% podcast called Toxic Love Transformation. Go check it out on iTunes if you haven't listened to it yet. It's all about healing from toxic relationships. I also am an expert writer for Avaya University, which is all about healing from codependent relationships. I've also been featured on NBC, ABC, Fox, CBS. And I do also a weekly cable show as well. So this is something that I'm very passionate about. It's really important for me to share what I have learned with other people. So in saying all of that, here is the first problem that I have found when people are looking to heal from toxic relationships. The first problem that I found is, number one, is being able to get out of that toxic relationship. So like I said, there are certain things that everybody goes through when they're in that toxic relationship. And the first one to be able to get out is, first they have to recognize, like, oh crap, something isn't right. Again, we question ourselves a lot when we're in these types of relationships. So we might say, well, what am I doing wrong? What's going on? But something isn't right. This just doesn't feel normal. I don't feel happy. Something isn't right. So that first thing is being able to recognize that there is a problem. The second thing that we start doing after we recognize it as strong, independent people is we go over there and we start researching. So we become experts in narcissism and codependency. I didn't learn what codependency was till I was in my 30s. But codependency, narcissism, like I said, borderline personality disorder, sociopaths, psychopaths, like we start getting all this information. And I did that too. We want to know what's going on. We want to see, am I crazy? Am I the one doing this to them? What's going on? So we get into that research phase. Then after the research, we get into this addiction phase of like trying to fix the thing, trying to fix the problem. And so it's like, well, what if I change this about myself? What if I do this differently? What if I can get him to understand? And I keep saying him because, I'm speaking from a female's perspective, as a heterosexual female's perspective. But what if I could get them to change? What if I just send them this article and things will get better? Because again, if you believe that you stay married forever, the thought is how to fix the problem as opposed to how should I get out. So there's the addiction part. And then after that, there becomes the accountability part. To say, hey, I don't know what I'm doing. I need someone to help me because whatever I'm doing is wrong. I need someone to help me through this. And then after we do that, then we can get to the recovery phase. Now, some of those things all intertwine. Some of those are happening at the same time. It's not like you go through one step but then the next step. Sometimes they kind of overlap each other. But those are all the areas that we are in our thinking that we're dealing with getting out. So that's one of the number one things is, first of all, even realizing we have to get out. Then the second problem is that once we get out, then a lot of us, and if you were here from the beginning, you heard me say, I thought I was just never going to do that again, that I'm smart, I could figure it out, I knew what to do. Most of us feel that way. We are intelligent. This has nothing to do with intelligence levels, education levels, anything like that. We don't know how to create something different. If we did, we would have done it already. Our thinking is what got us to this point. Our thinking cannot get us out. And so once we are out, instead of us just saying like, oh, hey, I'm just never going to get into another toxic relationship again, that's the part that's really important to make sure that we get support. Because if we don't heal those childhood wounds that made us more susceptible to these unhealthy relationships, or those wounds of past relationships that we didn't heal, if we didn't learn how to communicate better, how to create that safe space, how to have that holistic healing that's more in balance in our lives, then we're not going to learn how to properly protect our energy, and we're going to end up repeating patterns again moving forward. So after we've left, most of us think, hey, I'm just never going to do that again. But again, if we don't get the right support, then we're going to go back and do it again. That is why out of every first divorce, 50% of those people or more will get, in fact, numbers are looking more like 70%, that the second marriage will also end in divorce. And if you get a divorce from the second marriage, then the third one has about an 80% chance of getting a divorce. So those numbers get worse and worse as you go down the line. And the reason for that is because we do not do the right healing. We don't focus on the right things in between starting to date again. You've got to take a step back. You've got to focus on yourself and your healing. And that way, when you are ready to start dating again, and this is not a linear, sometimes there's a little bit of back and forth as we're learning, but when we are starting to date again, we've already done some of that initial work so that we are not as susceptible to these types of toxic people. Again, toxic people love loyalty, they love intelligence, they love attraction, they love people that think they're wonderful, they love to be able to manipulate. And so if we don't know who we are and feel the great ability to speak up for ourselves, share our wants and needs, have that respect, that self-esteem, healthy boundaries, communication, all those important things, and again, heal those childhood parts that got us into this to begin with, then there's a very good chance we're going to start all over again. The third problem that I've found in the years of doing this is that after we end this relationship, or even if we're still in it and looking to get out, or we're already out, there's a problem that seems to be across the board. And that third problem is that not only do we not know where to start in our healing, even for the people that are like, dude, I know I need to do something. There's something that has to be different than whatever I've done before. The other problem is that even if we know we need help and we don't know what we're doing, we're concerned about money. And I don't know if that resonates for anyone who's listening right now, because when you're ending this relationship, even if you were the breadwinner, I was the breadwinner. I was the one who made more money than my ex-husband. But after you go through a divorce, you have to pay the lawyer. You have to, sometimes you have to split up the estate. You go through a breakup. You're, switching homes, whatever it is. So all of that money that's been used towards getting out makes it scary to invest in something else. But the most important thing you can possibly do is invest in yourself. And so your future self, the best version of you, cannot wait for you to start focusing on yourself and actually start healing. So all of those things. So hopefully all that makes sense so far, because I'm really, really excited to share with all of you this really great possibility to help you to heal, to give you all the things that you need that's going to be easy to follow, step by step, easy to follow. Take the guesswork out so you don't have to figure out any of it out yourself. Now, let me just try to see if I can figure out how to do. All right, let's see. I was going to try to be fancy and do, oh, there we go. And do, can I do it? Green screen? Oh, okay. I am learning how to do this. Normally when I'm live, I don't normally add extra photos in here, but I'm trying to try something different. Okay, so we have this really cool ability for all of you, and this is something that's really exciting to us. Now, we do have a private Facebook group. It's called Toxic Love Transformation. You can definitely go check it out. But some people, after they've ended this relationship, or again, they're thinking about leaving, they're really nervous about anyone knowing that they are in a group about toxic relationships. So they might see the group on Facebook, but they're really concerned about actually joining it because they don't want anyone else to know that they are in this private Facebook group. So even though it's private and nobody can see what you're writing in it, people can still see that you're a member of the group. So what we did was, and I can't, hold on. What we did was, I can't move myself, is we actually created an app. Now, if you see it right there, it says collab. Now, that little app right there is where you can actually access all things related to healing. Now, the cool thing about that is that you can go anywhere and not have to worry about people knowing that you are in this private Facebook group. And I think that is really super important. So the next thing is that once you have that app downloaded onto your phone, that takes you to this. So once you click on it, it does take you to the app itself where all of our information is stored. Now, as you can see, there's a member portal. There's different things that you can explore in there. And that brings you to the next thing. Once you get in this, we actually, because we want to look at healing in a holistic way, what you have on here is guided meditations. So when you have been in a toxic relationship, or you're just stressed and overwhelmed in general, we recommend as coaches to go and start a meditative practice. So what we have done is we have recorded, and there's some recordings from me, there's a lot of recordings from my husband David. He's got an amazing voice that's going to be super soothing. But the guided meditations are all there to help you with your sleep, with your stress, with your overwhelm. Here we go. These are some examples: emotional healing, increased ability to concentrate, self-awareness, stress reduction, self-esteem and self-love. So all these things are related to healing from toxic relationships. So that's going to be totally at your fingertips to be able to access whenever you want. So again, that's just one of the things in our app is guided meditations. The next one is the Thrive Hive Replay Vault. We have done hundreds of hours about narcissism, codependency, healing from toxic relationships. I mean, you name it. If there's anything related to toxic relationships, being in it, leaving them, or healing from them, we have a video related to it. When you download this app, you're going to have access to our entire library that's all related to healing from toxic relationships. So you're driving into work and you don't want to listen to some music, you can pop on one of these replays and you can listen in the car. You can have them in your earbuds as you're at work doing whatever mundane, thing that you're doing. That's when I'm listening. I like to do audiobooks sometimes, and if I'm just doing like regular computer inputting of information, I'll just pop in the audiobook and it gets me to read way more books, so I'm able to listen to them. This could literally be done. You listen to these trainings as you're sitting and doing something else, and you can just pop them in your earbuds. And again, nobody else is going to need to know what you're doing, what you're listening to, because it'll be completely there available for you to use whenever you want. And again, some of these trainings are 5 minutes. Some of these trainings are all the way to an hour, and that'll be yours to use however you want. The next thing, and this is going to be super cool. So remember what I said, when we end a toxic relationship, we feel like we can't, we don't know where to start. What do I do to start? I feel stressed, I feel overwhelmed, I've lost myself, I know I need help, but I don't know where to start. That is where this comes in, and what it is, if I can find it, is the steps. This is actually a course, Recognize and Overcome Toxic Relationships. That's what the course is, and it actually takes you through the 6 different steps of healing from toxic relationships. This is a step-by-step guide so that you're going to know exactly what you need to do. If you are busy, if you are unsure where to start, this is going to be exactly what you need to do. And this is all at your fingertips to listen whenever you want to. And it's a do with program. So you can do this whenever you want to, whenever you have an opportunity to have a listen and do the activities. This is going to be available to you. And of course, again, there is 6 steps. There's some bonuses in there, but these are all things related to healing from toxic relationships, everything that you need in there. Now, the cool thing is that not only do you have this course for you to go through at your own pace, but you're also going to have a community. One of the things that I noticed when I was healing from toxic relationships is that I felt really isolated. I felt really alone. I felt like nobody else understood. And to have a group of other people who have also gone through a toxic relationship and they are also looking to heal. So they're not people that are commiserating about how crappy their ex was, although that might come up at some points. Their goal, just like yours, would be to heal. Let's figure out what I did wrong, because I don't want to waste any more time. I already gave them some great years. I gave them way too many chances. I would like to make sure the rest of my life is the best of my life. So you'll have access to the Thrive Hive, which is going to be launching in the next few days. The Thrive Hive is a community for everyone who's looking to heal from toxic relationships. Again, this is private. It is not on Facebook. It is on the app. So nobody you know has to know that you are in this group, and you can go through this discreetly at your own time, at your own pace, and you can stop it. And when you're ready to go back to it, it'll take you right back to where you started. So these are all the great things that we have, and this will help you with all those different areas of being able to communicate, of being able to recreate your tribe, to be able to look at how you got to this place to begin with, your childhood wounds, healing all those different areas in a holistic way to get you back at your optimized full level, so that whether or not you need to leave the relationship or you need to start healing after you've ended the relationship, you're going to have the right guidance, support, and tools to really help you heal. And the cool thing is that as soon as this launches, now for anyone who's like, okay, just tell me how to get in there, go to thrivehivecommunity.com. I think you have to do the www.thrivehivecommunity.com, or you can go to my bio and the link will be in there. And whose literal only job is to help you feel better. Their only job is to make sure that they give you the right advice to help you heal and create your best life. Imagine if you had access to that and a whole bunch of other people that were also your cheerleaders rooting for you as they also are looking to heal from toxic relationships. So again, if you go to thrivehivecommunity.com, and again, I think there's some weird thing, you have to do the www first. So www.hivecommunity.com, or again, go to my bio and you'll be able to find the information, the link to there. It is not fully launched yet. Right now you would get on the waiting list, but I'm telling you right now, this is going to revolutionize healing from toxic relationships, because most people can afford $33 a month. Most people don't go to Starbucks 3 times. I mean, literally. Don't go out to eat for lunch one day. And there you go. You've been able to afford access to my husband, who is a Reiki master teacher and Psych K facilitator, who is excellent at helping with mindset. And then for myself, who's personally experienced and healed from toxic relationships. And again, we've been doing this for 10 years. This is our specialty. We've written the books on it. We have the podcast. We have all these different things. And we're going to have access to us in the community and weekly for live Q&As by spending a whole $33 a month to be a part of the Thrive Hive community. So on that note, if you have any questions, make sure to reach out to me. You can put them in the comments or you can send me a private message. But we're super excited about www.thrivehive, the Thrive Hive community, or I'm sorry, it's not the, it's thrivehivecommunity.com. And I think that you're going to love it. I mean, this is going to be, it answers all of your questions. It's affordable. It's got everything you could need to start your healing journey, take the guesswork out, and start really focusing on creating your best life now. So on that note, if there are no questions, if there's nothing else that you need to ask from me, again, you can always go to my bio and grab the link there. You can always send me a private message. As always, you can go to my podcast and listen in at Toxic Love Transformation. There's so much opportunity for you to get the tools that you need in order to heal. Take this opportunity. You don't need to figure this out on your own. You don't have to waste any more time with toxic people. You don't have to waste any more time with things that simply don't work. Why not look at this and say, I am going to make the rest of my life the best of my life. I'm going to step into my full power and create a life that I'm excited to wake up to every day. One where I'm either single and happy or in a relationship with someone who adds to my life and doesn't take away from my life. Imagine if you were able to, how life would change right now if you had someone to guide you through all of this. How would life feel differently for you? How would you show up differently if you had the right tools and support and guidance to really create something new for yourself? So on that note, I don't see any other questions. So I am so excited for all of you who are going to be jumping into the Thrive Hive community. Welcome, welcome, welcome. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. But let's make the next chapter of your life the best chapter of your life. So never forget, you are way stronger than you realize. See you next episode. Bye, everybody.